All right, we are live on this Friday afternoon. We're all waiting for a few minutes for about 3 hours or so for Iowa baseball. We're going to cover Iowa baseball first, even though the headlines has Barta out and Getz as our interim. I wanted to go over those a little bit in detail, but let's talk a little bit about the baseball game today against North Carolina State. Okay, and so Iowa seeded number two, NC State number three in their region with Indiana State and Wright State. Also, so Iowa comes in with a 42-14 um, record. Um, they were runner-ups in the Big Ten tournament, and North Carolina State comes in with a 35-22 record, and they were runner-up against Clemson in the ACC tournament. And so they got their hands full. I was just kind of looking at some things. For Iowa, Marcus Morgan is going to go for the game. He's going to be. Marcus Morgan has a 4-2 record with a 3.88 ER record, or 3.88 ERA record. Jake Knapp will be the NC State starter. He's 5-3. He has a 4.79 ERA, and the thing about him is he has a tendency, kind of like has been some of the Iowa pitchers this year, especially Breck. After about the fifth inning or stuff, he starts to giving up, base on balls, gets a little wild, maybe giving up a few hits and everything. We've seen. So that is something that to look for with the Iowa offense, the way they can hit the bats and create runs and play small ball and long ball both. Let's see if around the fifth inning or so they can get to him and start, landing some runs and just playing ball, because we know that watching Iowa baseball, they can score in bunches and they can score quickly. Okay. So a couple of the people to look out for at the NC State team is their leading home run hitter, Matt Horvath, has 22 home runs, 62 RBIs, and he's second on the team in doubles with 20. Another guy to look out for is Thomas Frick. He bats 326. He has 12 HRs, 60 RBIs, 71 hits, and 21 doubles. And so, I don't know. The ACC must really be tough, or NC State has really played some tough competition, because their record indicates that that you would think that they wouldn't be as good as they are, but to me it looks like they're the real deal, and this is they could cause Iowa some trouble today. So that'll be 6 p.m. Central Time on the ACC channel. I think I get it. I'm pretty sure I get the channel but I get YouTube TV, so we'll find out at game time. So it is. If I don't, I don't. So that's where we're at with that. And so Indiana State comes in as the number one seed with 42-15 record. Iowa did beat them, I think, the very first game of the season, or very, very early. And so that was good. So Iowa knows that they can get to Indiana State. They know they can beat them if they have to face them. This is a double elimination tournament. And Wright State comes in at 39 with the fourth seed, 39-21. I don't know much about Wright State. They really didn't print anything. I could have printed all things about Indiana State, but let's face it, we're not playing them today. Maybe tomorrow, or however way the brackets work out. Okay. And so, all right. Breck leads the nation, though, in giving up hits per 9 innings, 4.5, and they're 4.5 hits per 9 innings. And so, honestly, that That's pretty good, honestly, when you think about that. And that leads the nation. So no wonder he's, outside of his 100-mile-an-hour fast pitch ball. No wonder he's desirable to the major leagues. Morgan is fifth overall in the nation, giving up 5.37 hits per 9 innings. So that's good. Breck is 32nd on the national list in strikeouts at 101. Okay, so it should be a good game today. We don't know if Breck is going to pitch the second game or the third game. We don't know. But let's talk about some things that maybe not everybody's celebrating right now. Well, first of all, one of the buddies who follows me on my Facebook page, Iowa Hawkeye Sports, just texted me a few minutes ago that Terry Roberts is back in the portal again. He posted an article, but I haven't had a chance to read it because I'm right here live. And so I asked him if why he thought that he was back in the portal, and he was at Miami. Maybe he wasn't cutting it at Miami or something. But guys, do you think Terry Roberts could come back to Iowa? Do you think Iowa would welcome him with open hands and bring him back? I would hope so because Terry Roberts is a tough dude. God, we could play him back on special teams again. You know how he can hurt people. We could use him. Man, that would just beef up the defense so well. And and they're looking for another DB in the portal. Why not bring Terry home? Let's bring Terry home, guys. I would hope that Iowa would, forgive and forget and just bring him back if they could. But we'll find out, So, Terry Roberts, if you're listening, please come back to Iowa. We want you to come home. Okay, let's talk about Barta. First of all, let's talk about some of the good things that he's done because I know that everybody is celebrating that Barta's gone, and I kind of am too. But he did a lot of good things while he was at Iowa. Let's start out with all the fundraising he did. He did $380 million to do upgrades and things like that to Iowa. You guys all know that we did during his tenure. Kennick was upgraded. Carver Hawkeye Arena was upgraded. I think there's a new wrestling facility about to open up with a tunnel directly to Carver from the wrestling facility. The football built their own facilities during his tenure, and I do not know if that little arena that the volleyball team uses out in Corville, is an Iowa project or a private project, and they just contract with Iowa to use it. I don't know about that one. Somebody'd have to correct me on that one. That's all that could come up with in my head. Some of the things that had been done while he was there. Okay, but let's talk about some of the coaches. He hired. Okay, he hired Heller. Let's talk about it. Since he's hired Heller, they've gone to 3 NCAA berths: 2015, 2017, and now this year, 2023. Okay, they've been on the verge of being there. Last year, many people thought Iowa had done enough to get in, but didn't. So, that's just one of those things where they were on the verge of almost getting in, and so that was an upgrade. He hired Fran, and Fran McCaffrey has 437 and 261 losses in his 13 seasons at Iowa. Yes, he did hire Licklider. Okay, we all know about the Licklider bust. Okay, but Fran was inherited a dumpster fire, and he turned that program around. He got people excited for basketball again. He's starting to fill up the stands. Yes, not every game is sold out yet. Just a few games here and there. But he'll get it back there. To me, this was an off year. 19 wins. I think he had a fifth place finish in the Big Ten, and then of course he was one and done in the Big Ten and one and done in the NCAA's. And so it happens, guys. It happens. I know we're all disappointed. Iowa lost their last 3 games, their last regular season game to Nebraska. There was it Illinois they lost to in the tournament, and then I can't remember who they lost to in the Big Ten. In the NCAA tournament. Okay, all right. Something else he's done. He's starting a women's wrestling program that had wrestled as a club this year, and they wrestled in many tournaments unattached, and all the wrestlers that went unattached did quite well in those tournaments. Clarissa Chun is the head wrestling women's coach, and it looks like what she's recruited so far. It looks like Iowa women will have their place, right alongside the Iowa men in dominating nationals and things like that. And I think that's going to be very good. He brought in Joey Woody for track, who, you know, you guys know the track has done very well. They've gotten Big Ten titles in 2021, 2022. I think they placed third this year in 23. Somebody correct me if you know better. Um, uh, 2019 and 21, they won the outdoor track meets. The women have finished third 5 times in the Big Ten. Field hockey, under their coach Lisa Celiacy, they've been in the NCAA quarterfinals or further every year since 2019. So that's good. Softball. Okay, he hasn't been as fortunate. He's had a couple of softball hires. The latest one being Renee Gillespie, who's the current coach. Because nobody has brought including Renee Gillespie, who nobody has brought that program back to Gail Blevin's era. Because she once she had them in the NCAA's or the regionals and World Series 16 times in 23 years. So that just goes to show you that Iowa did have an outstanding softball program at one time. But this year, under Renee Gillespie, they've come up with a winning record. They won the NIT of women's softball this year. So they've done quite well this year, and they were a very exciting team to watch. I watched most of their games this year, and as I did baseball, and so they did very well there. Okay. When we talk about soccer, Dave Delanius, I actually interviewed him, guys, when I was with Nolan on his podcast. I interviewed him, and we did an article on him for the soccer team right after they had a huge year and went to the NCAA's. It was a couple of years ago, and so, but they have finished 2 NCAA appearances. I believe the last one was in 2020. They got an automatic bid, and I think they won one and lost one in their last NCAA appearance. They finished fifth or better under him 3 times. They won the Big Ten tournament in 2020. Oh, I was watching that one. That was great. Okay, but another thing he's done is, he didn't hire Bluter, Tom Brands, or Kirk Ferentz. Okay, but he's been able to retain them and not let them get away. He's compensated them, I think, fairly well. As we all know, Bluter has been on a phenomenal job with the team, with the women's team. They've reached Elite Eights and Sweet 16s multiple times. I don't know about the Elite Eight part, but at least multiple times in Sweet 16. This year they're national runner-ups, losing in the controversial field championship game. Of course, Kirk Ferentz has been very steady most of his career. He's never had more than one losing season in a row since his first 2 at Iowa. I think he's only had 1 losing season, maybe 2, since that first 2 years in his season. He's been bowl eligible almost every year that he's been coaching. He's had multiple 10-win plus seasons. several, and he's brought some consistency. I know that he plays a type of football that that we all used to love. We never complained about it before, but now we're complaining because we don't seem to score enough points. And that'll bring me back to one of the things I think Barta failed on when I get to what I think was really driving Barta out. Okay, and then of course Tom Brands, he has a couple of national championships, several I think runner-ups in these NCAA, and maybe a third or fourth place too. So Brands has kept the Iowa team right there, national pace with the national people. Now, if we can only get over the hump and join Penn State, Penn State is what we used to be back in the day, guys. So those are some of the things that I thought were on the good side for Barta. Some of the good things that he accomplished. But here's some of the things I think. I think secretly he was pushed out. I really do. This just kind of come up sudden, and if you listen to a couple of podcasts by a couple of people who have inside knowledge of what's going on inside the program, um, that had been in the works. A negotiation to get him out had been in the works, but to get him to leave on his own terms so that he wouldn't be fired. Excuse me. And so, I think number one right now, the current thing is his lack of support for the Swarm and the NIL. The fans are furious because he's not helping the Swarm. You know, he's not helping them out. He's not giving them any support. There are things he can do that would be legal, but he's afraid that if the NCAA goes through and makes some new regulations, he doesn't want to be caught in the crossfire. However, I would say that if they did if there is some support that the new athletic director can throw the Swarm way, and if it becomes illegal later, they probably wouldn't be punished for it because it wouldn't have been a rule at the time. Okay. He lost the university $11.5 million in lawsuits, including the settlement. The settlement that Kirk Ferentz did not want to. He wanted to go to court over it. He did not want to pay the settlement, and I think the way that whole thing was handled, it sounds like Kirk Ferentz and Gary Barta weren't getting along after that. They had a very fractured, tense relationship after that because they disagreed on how to handle the whole discrimination thing, and when you get right down to it, when your football coach has been there for 25 years, he's probably one of the most powerful people on your left athletic program, even more so than the athletic director. Okay. I think one of the other things that it cost him is his handling of Brian Ferentz in that contract. Um, whether or not the offense was Brian Ferentz's fault, whether or not his hands were tied, whether or not the O line was bad, the receivers dropping passes, not running, the quarterback not getting them the ball to open receivers and things like that. Even if you blame all that on it, um, you still have to fire the coach in charge of that. Brian Ferentz, if he hadn't have been Kirk Ferentz's son, would have been fired by any other school. They wouldn't have put up with that. I've seen schools they fire you know. Let's face it, the way the Iowa offense started out the beginning of the year, he could have been fired 4 games into the season with Iowa holding a 2-2 record 4 games into the season this year. And it was obvious that Iowa's offense was not there. Okay. The whole handling of the discrimination suit, you know, and we kind of touched on that, how he wanted to settle and get it over with, and but before the whole suit came up, James Daniel had gone to him and discussed several things that he saw in the program that needed to be changed, and asked Gary Barta to do something about it, and felt there was some discrimination going on, and as you guys know, that James Daniel was the one to break this case wide open. It was after he broke it wide open on social media Many others came forward and eventually resulted in the lawsuit that got settled. Okay. There's thought there that the school thinks he didn't do enough to force changes when he knew about them, and he knew about them before it all became public knowledge. There had been already an independent study showing that there were some signs of discrimination in his football department, and Barta let it go. He didn't do anything about it. So that's why I believe he was pushed out, guys. Those are the reasons why I think, So if you're gonna give a grade for his 17 years, because he did a lot of good, but he did a lot of bad, I'm just gonna put the grade right in the middle and say he did a C. He was a C as a athletic director. And I know I'm just a fan. I don't have the degrees that he has. I'm not head football coach, basketball coach. I'm not an athletic director. Don't have a business major. I did manage a grocery store for several years. And worked as a manager in at Kmart too, besides grocery stores. And so um, I know a little bit about leadership and management, and it doesn't sound like that Barta was a good leader, was a good manager overall. Okay. So today they name Beth Getz as interim AD. Okay, and they got an official name for it. I'm not going to say this name for it because that's the only time I've seen this name is the official name for it is during this whole time. Nobody's ever mentioned it before. Um, she comes to Iowa as a associate assistant deputy type athletic director right now is where she's at, and CEO of something. Um, but she was athletic director at Ball State, and I didn't write everything down, but she started there May 18 until she was hired here, I guess. And she had quite the successful class there. She really did. School, I mean, sports program there. She did. They were very successful under her. Won all across all the sports. Won many titles in the. Was it the MAC that they play in? Anyway, won many titles in that conference. Sports was quite successful. Had a very high graduation rate, um, as you would expect there. Okay. Before that, she was at UConn as um, COO, something about operations. She was chair of operations or something. She was an associate AD at Butler, Missouri St. Louis. She spent a lot of years there. She was assistant soccer coach, head coach. She was assistant AD while she was there. She had a lot of titles, but we don't want to forget that she also was Minnesota's interim AD. I think before she went to Ball State. Okay. Um, and then, of course, she was an athlete herself and played soccer at Clemson. And so, but yeah, so you can see that this woman has the experience, the years behind her, the what do you call it, the resume to be an athletic director. I think it would be tough to find somebody else right now with as much giddy up and go. I mean, even when we hired Barta, he'd only been AD at Wyoming a couple of years, so even Barta didn't come in here with this much experience. And so, but this girl's going to have a chance to prove herself from August 1st until they start the national search somewhere in early 2024. So she's got 4 months, 4 to 5, maybe 6 months while they search. And I'm sure they're going to bring people in and interview them, and I'm sure she'll be interviewed as well. And so what she does in these next, 4 to 5, 6 months as interim AD will tell the story whether or not she gets it. The question is she going to be able to stand up to Kirk Ferentz if she needs to? How about Fran McCaffrey? Those two can be quite intimidating. You know, will they give her the same respect that they would give Gary Barta, or any other coaches would give Gary Barta? it'll be interesting to find out if they will give her the respect that she deserves. And right now the school probably knows because let's face it, because I'm sure she's had interaction with all those coaches already. She's talked, all the she's I'm sure she's talked to all the coaches, got to know the coaches. Coaches all know her, and so she probably has earned the respect of them already, or she wouldn't have been named interim. Okay, and so honestly, guys, that's about all I had today. I'll keep this podcast short. It's under 30 minutes, and I just felt like we hadn't had a podcast for a while, and today seemed like a good day to talk about Gary Barta being retiring and Beth Getz being named the interim coach. And I just thought with baseball starting here, let's see, in 3 hours, a little over 3 hours from now, it's just a good time to get on here and talk. Um, right now, I can tell you Paul's at work and Jason's taking a break, and we're planning on Jason being back later this summer with us. And so I know you guys will miss him currently, and you guys miss Paul today, but they'll both be back. They'll be back. We got some plans for the fall, how we want to do that. We want to be more regular. We want to be more consistent on how we handle this podcast. But yeah, I guess for now, you just got to deal with me. I'm going to try to go about once a week right now until those guys come back. And I think even Paul will be back off and on. And I think I've convinced somebody else to come on with me as guest host too. Somebody who I think you guys will, you'll like, and he seems to be very knowledgeable and keeps me on my toes on the Facebook page. So let's see where this goes, guys. There were no comments today. It's sad to say. I was kind of hoping I wanted to leave some extra time for comments, but we didn't get any today, and so I guess these all be watched in reruns and not live. And so what I'm going to do is get out of here, leave you guys alone. And hey, listen, before I do that, if you made it this far, okay, if you're not already subscribing to this channel, subscribe to it. Okay, share it with your friends. And like I always say, share it with your Hawkeyes and Cyclone buddies. Your Hawkeye buddies, your Cyclone buddies, your Husker buddies, your Gopher buddies, or even your Badger buddies. Anybody you want to mess around with. Let's just share this YouTube channel. Let's get this, subscribe to it and share it away. Let's get these numbers up, okay? I feel like I can make more quality content, make it more professional looking and stuff. But I need to get the numbers up, guys. I need to get the numbers up so that I can afford to do that, afford to get some sponsorships, afford to do the things we need to do to get this going the way I want it to, my vision. So that's where we're going to leave it right now. Okay, guys. So share away, share this, and subscribe. Or as some of my buddies say, smash that subscribe button. Okay. We'll see you later. Out.